Lloyd, who is a senior IT consultant with Threat Finance, who also serves as the IT director at one of our Dayton-based clients. Greg, it's great to see you. How are you doing?
It's good to see you as well, Spencer. Thank you very much. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, so today, Greg and I wanted to share a bit about, I wanted to share specifically about Greg's story, kind of how he grew up in IT and what he's doing now. And we'll talk a bit about, here's some AI, what it takes to be successful in technology in today's market as well. So to kick things off here, Greg, here's my first question to you is how did your early life experiences and upbringing shape your perspective on leadership and problem solving?
Well, I think you're born with the ability to lead and problem solve, but it's also something you can learn and you can change in yourself. And just because you're born with it doesn't mean that you're good at it, because someone else can learn it and then master it. I recognized a long time ago that I was opinionated, even though I don't think I knew the term at the time I was a kid. And I knew how I thought things should go. And then I would get irritated if it wasn't going the way I thought it should go. And it wasn't necessarily because it wasn't going the way that I wanted to go, as much as it was the way the teacher or someone else that was leading things, and I guess I was kind of a steward of their intentions, and I could also gather the kids to get together and say, like, hey, like, we're doing the wrong thing, let's do this. So an example of that is when I was in marching band in high school. We had gotten very good. My first year in marching band, lost every contest but one. Second year, we won everything. Third year, because we won everything, now we were vulnerable. And I could feel that we had this upcoming marching band contest and that no one's heart was in it because we were so used to winning everything. So I just, got irritated, unhappy about the situation. I didn't like the idea of losing, especially when I felt like we were better. So I went to all the other section leaders that were all seniors in high school and just said, we got to do something about this. And I think they had been feeling it too. And so that they, I didn't have to do much motivation. And we gathered everybody around, and I started it off saying, this is what's going on. We're going to go against these people. They're going to kill us if we don't do something about this, if we don't take it seriously. And then, all the other section leaders did the same. Now, we had like a reality TV show. This is back in the early 90s. We had like a reality TV show based around our marching band. And so the entire thing was caught on camera. The director seeing us all at attention, much more in the zone during the practice that day. He could feel it, in other words. And that was sort of my reward for, like, we're doing really well because I stepped up and I did something about it. And like so many people in marching band, I learned how to lead greatly through marching band. I was the section leader in the drum line and percussion. And the director was a great leader himself. He pulled me aside and just said, hey, I heard that you're the one that pulled this together. And then that acknowledged what I needed to be like, okay, when I feel this, I know it's the right thing to do,
Who is a reality TV show?
Yeah.
What?
So
you,
it was
you can't
like,
just say that, man. And this
yeah.
is the 90s, bro. Like,
Yeah. It was before the real world. It was 1989 or so. And, for like, we would consider that like the 1990 year, because that's when the year ends or whatever. And this was in Lexington, Kentucky with the Lafayette High School Marching Band. We had a guy named Dick Simpson, and he was with Kentucky Educational and Television. And he was, I guess, on the educational beat, going to the schools and recording things. And he had somehow gotten hold of us or our director and saw that, our director he's an incredible guy, Dr. J. Stephen Moore. And he was just asked to follow us around. And he was at every practice. He was at every contest. He kind of became the behind the scenes mascot. Everyone loved Dick Simpson. And when he released that the first year, like at the end of the year, it was like, wow, like it was intense. Like, that was us last summer. Look at that, And then they put that, it's just kind of a rolling thing on local public television over the summer. Well, the following year, we had a ton of transplants, people that wanted their kids to be in the band because they saw that all summer on TV. So it was it was the power of social media before I knew there was such a thing.
That that is the craziest story I think I've heard so far from all these interviews that I've done is that Greg Lloyd was in a marching band reality TV series
Yep.
in the
100%.
90s.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you guys actually invent MTV too, or did you guys are you guys the progenitors of Bravo
Well,
TV? Was there
it,
marching band housewives? Like,
there
was
should
that such
be.
a thing?
There's plenty of marching band widows, I'm sure. Their husbands just are all about marching band, drum and bugle corps, and all that, and they probably never see them. So yeah, not that I'm aware, but I can imagine such a thing.
That's fantastic, man. Um, so early experience. So you learned some leadership skills through marching band,
Right.
specifically readying using your peers for a specific competition. I can tell you from a recruiting perspective, things that I really value in resumes, because you post one position, you'll get 1,000 candidates within an hour. 80% of them are real people, and but the 20% that are, you got to really parse through resumes and decide who's frankly worth the time of connecting with and sharing your time with. And the people that always seem out to me are those that cite like, were they an athlete? Were they in marching band? But specifically in the macro, what I'm looking for is were they committed to some kind of team endeavors? Like, did
Yeah,
they?
yeah, shapes you.
Yeah, yeah, it shapes you because you can't work on a team and be selfish. Like you have to.
No.
There's a certain set of values I think that come from that, and working in a team-based context, especially when you're younger too. Like committed and marching band in particular is more involved than any sport. It's the craziest. It's
Yeah.
the craziest time commitment of any kind of extracurricular commitment at that age. So if you're committed to a leadership role and something like marching band speaks to your character, your maybe even your drive, your motivation, perhaps. What are some of the
Sure.
core values that you have in addition to? Not sure if you consider leadership one of those, perhaps, but that's certainly something you care about. What are some core values that you share?
I'm sorry. What are the core values that I share?
Yeah, that you have.
And I'm just going to repeat it. So, what are my core values specifically? Like, what do I find valuable in myself or in other people?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Um, so I think a core values that I care about and that I look for in other people are number one, first and foremost, honesty. I just want a person to show up when they say they're going to show up. I just want a person to say I don't know when they don't know. I think another core value is someone admitting that they don't know and being, okay to say something about it. It's a two-way street. They have to be able to say I don't know, and I need to be able to say it's okay for you to say I don't know. Because so many companies now, if you say I don't know, they're like, oh, they've added a list of things you don't know, and you can't be trusted if you. But it's not realistic. Um, I think I need to see a drive in a person that they have to want to do a good job, and not just for me or for the company, but do it for themselves. And I think holding to their own core values. I would never ask someone to do something that I want to do myself, nor would I expect them to do anything other than just the 9 to 5 things that we have at a job. But if they don't like the idea of a specific customer because maybe that customer there's a twist to it, a philosophy that customer has, and they don't feel comfortable with that, I'd rather them tell me that up front, and I can respect them. They may still have to do it, but I can respect them for being uncomfortable and saying something to me. I've been on too many teams where everyone's afraid to say anything because they're going to get knocked, or it's going to be the wrong thing, or you didn't say it just the way that I wanted to say it, that kind of thing. I think everyone else, when I look at I should say, when I imagine the real leaders in, the Roman armies and such, they really didn't have a lot of rules that they followed. They just want to get the job done and get it done efficiently and do it in a way that shows that they care about the people under them. And I think you'll get that back from everyone and the respect if you show that.
That's good. I hear a lot of talk about culture, like building, how do you build great culture in an organization? And I think a lot of that starts with whoever's leading the company. I just think that if yeah, if you show transparency to what you're saying, right? You show transparency, honesty, you have respect for others. Like those are things that build the foundation for a great culture. Now, like personality plays a role into it too. Like, and I'm in my late 20s. I know I'm an enthusiastic guy. When I like, that's just part of my archetype. But there are lots of enthusiastic, excitable leaders that are great at building great cultures because the foundation of that isn't excitement, energy, enthusiasm. It's respect, transparency, honesty. It's things that you're talking about. Is there a specific like quote or motto that you really value? Like something that comes to mind? And that's okay if there isn't. But is there a specific quote or motto that comes to mind as something that has stuck with you through the years?
This is such a, like, everybody's heard it a million times thing, but you know how, like, and this is not the quote, you know, like when you're a kid, you've heard a bird in the hand is worth two in the worth two in the bush. And you know, you don't really think about it, and then you get older and you go, oh, okay, well, finally, if I have one in my hand, trying to get the other two, I'm going to drop it. Something, I'm going to end up with none. It's one of those where so the quote I always heard, and it's from a million, you know, how I made a type stories, is you've seen the one time I failed, but you didn't see the prior 99, or you've seen the one time I succeeded, but you didn't see the 99 where I failed. And anytime I fail at something, or I feel like I'm not doing it the way I need to do it, small wins or big, or small losses or big, I think back to that of, you know, no one else is really seeing this, A. And if they do, maybe they don't care that much, B. And then C, I have a history of pushing until I succeed. So they're going to have some forgiveness. Uh, I fail an awful lot. So I think about that one an awful lot.
That's good, man. Mine is I have two things that I refer to that speak to values that I have. So one is um living the dream looks a lot different than the dream itself.
Yep.
Then the second one would be shut up, no one cares, work harder.
Yeah. Well, I don't, is that one you've heard, or that's just one that you keep saying to yourself?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a
Yeah.
little bit of both there, man. Yeah. It's it's funny when you're younger, you're so obsessed with being noticed and seen and
Yeah.
valued. And the older that you get, and I'm in my late 20s, man. I'm still a young person, but the older I get, the less I care about the validation from other or more the
For sure.
validation that I'm getting to myself, right?
For
Like I
sure.
want to feel good about myself. And
Um, I remember how important money was to me, and not for, you know, to feel good about myself, to buy the things I needed. I mean, I lived paycheck to paycheck like so many of us for so long, and on the outside looking in, everyone else would be like, "Oh man, he's got a car. It's a newish car. He's got a nice apartment, all that." And at that time, I was living paycheck. I knew what the reality of it. Like, please don't come in the apartment. Please don't look in the refrigerator. Just look at everything on the outside. Uh, but then I made, uh, you know, as you get older, you start making better income, and knowing I could make money, that I could make money. Like once you hit a certain threshold, like, okay, at least someone thinks, validates that I'm worth this much. And because I've achieved that, I can say to myself, if this all falls apart, it's okay. I can end up finding another job, because like once you do it once, like that's the hard thing. And then after that, it's like, oh, okay, well, if I did it once, that means I can do it again. And now, not only does everyone else see that in me, I see it in me, and I relax a heck of a whole lot.
it's really good, man. What did you do earlier in your IT career? Like, what did you grow up doing in tech? Were you an infrastructure guy? Did a lot of stuff in hardware? Were you coding and
Uh,
COBOL?
so
That was kind of
I
COBOL's kind of
Cobalt,
behind you.
Fortran, binary. I'm not that old.
Yeah.
I guess I am that old. Um, I had a weird, for my age group. You know, I was born in '74, so I have a rather unique upbringing in that my father was in the Air Force, worked on jet planes, um, left the Air Force, at his with the 2 or 4 years that he was in, went to IBM, started working on typewriters because that's what IBM's big thing was typewriters. As computers became more and more a thing, he got more involved because you look at it. Now he's not told me this, but I imagine you look at a computer, and if you look at a laptop, or even let's just say an IBM PC in 1980, if you are in 1960 and you look at that, you think, oh, it's a typewriter with a screen. You don't think it's a computer. So I think that IBM saw like, hey, all the guys are in the typewriter division. Let's just move them on over to the computer stuff. They already work on something that looks like a typewriter. So he got involved in, I believe it was the quality control of the IBM PC, and I think he got into documentation for the IBM PC, and eventually that led to OS2. He was on Team OS2, and he did all the documentation, the online documentation. If you open up an OS2 manual from like 1989, 90, 91, 92, you'll see his name in the front as the guy that wrote all the documentation. Well, you can't, like, you're in this business in part because your father, runs a company, and you're adjacent, and you pick up your own sincere interest in it, and whether it's your father's company or another company or your own, you have an interest in it. So I have two siblings, and they grew up in the exact same household, and they don't have the interest in computers that I had. So it's not just about, oh, I grew up in a household with a guy that had a lot of computers and he was bringing them home. It was because I have two siblings that just, I mean, they use iPhones and such like the rest of us. They're not computer people. So my father would always bring home luggable computers. They are what were around before laptops. Luggable is such the perfect word. It even looks like luggage. They were heavy. And I was the computer kid, even before we had like classes with computers in them in like junior high. The neighbor across the street, guy in his 30s, I'm sure. He looked like, I'm sure I thought he was 100 years old when I was a kid, but he was in his 30s. I remember he had a problem with some software wasn't working, and he had this 5 1/4 inch floppy, and he gave it to me and he said, "You want to try to make it work?" Which I don't know if I'd give a 13-year-old kid, like, here's work on five, do something with my work files. So I stuck it into the computer, which again, I don't.
Is what that is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Um, but yeah, like, I went across the street to my house. I put it's a 5 1/4 inch floppy. I put it in the drive. I noticed that when I tried to run it, it was looking for a file. So I knew the command to create the file. So I created the file and then tried it again. And all I did was check the box that the program was looking for, which is, I can't find this file. Doesn't mean I populated the file. I just created a blank file with that name, and after which it booted up just fine. So I took it over back to him, and I told him exactly what I did. And I remember him looking at me like, "What? How? Like, how do you know this?" And I knew it for the same reason that I knew how to play basketball, or that I knew how to play Pac-Man. It's just something like I had done. Someone else had shown me, and now I did it. So I never felt that I was special. I 100% recognize that because the other kids didn't have these computers at home, that I was lucky to have a father who was bringing these things home, and then I was just surrounded with them. My sister, she played college basketball. They won the Division III NCAA Final Four, like the big championship, and so we traveled a lot. And my parents knew that I would just sit there having nothing to do, so they went to Computer Land, which at the time was a thing, and they rented a compact luggable, which is, like I was saying before, it's like this, it's like luggage with a handle, but it's got a computer and a small like orange on black screen. And I took that with me to the game, and I was sitting in the bleachers, this dork with a big heavy luggable computer, not a laptop. I mean, it was big, like imagine a suitcase on your lap, and the keyboard. And so I'm leaning back, and I wrote a scoreboard in BASIC. So, you know, I recognized, because no one else was sitting there with one of those things, okay, this is something I was interested in. In eighth grade, I took in a Turbo Pascal course. So I was, this must have been the 1987 or something. And this was at the University of Kentucky, and it was after hours. The only three other students in there were guys from IBM that had to be there to learn the language. So I started off with programming, having an interest in I just wanted to interact with the computer. I've always just wanted to be on the Starship Enterprise. And there's a lot of things, whether it's that, virtual reality, AI, iPhones, all those things to me make me feel like I live on the Starship Enterprise. And so it's not so much that I wanted to be a programmer or I wanted to be a network engineer or I wanted to be an IT admin or whatever. I just want to be around the technology that interests me. So I went from programming at first, and which, I still script, which I know a lot of programmers don't want to be belittled with the word script, but scripting is programming, whether they like it or not, it is. I still script, but the things that I started getting into were, I have, the best way I can put it is a passion for helping people. I like to see people uh, not in a problem, and if I can help them, I will. I would always volunteer as a kid to help people with things. So to have the ability to combine that desire to help people mixed with being surrounded by technology, I more so gravitated towards like just PC repair and then eventually network engineering and infrastructure configuration, installation, setup. And then, the organization, the customer that I work for, they want the best guys that will do everything from the space bar on a user's laptop all the way out to the outside interface of the firewall. They don't want just some guys behind the scenes that do the behind the scenes stuff and some lower engineers doing the front end stuff. They want both. And that's perfect for me. I want to do everything. And like so many of us, we are not a master of anything, but we're really good at a whole bunch of things. And I have it just an interest in that, and as a result, an interest in just helping people.
It's awesome, man. And let's just dig into some old tech. This is as you're talking about luggable computers, I had to Google that. I'm trying to think about what 90s movies might have had luggable computers. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
there's one in War Games. I'm pretty sure there's one that shows up in War Games. I'm also pretty sure there's one in Pulp Fiction. There's
yeah,
certainly one in Lethal Weapon, which is an 80s movie.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. What would have been during your college, like when you were in college, um, and I guess early careers or early 20s, what would have been like the cool tech? What would have been the coolest technology? Like today, that's AI, right? It's
Sure, sure.
you could probably put augmented reality into their tool. What would
Yeah,
be that in
yeah.
the 90s?
I thought the coolest tech at the time was the like a Palm Pilot, a personal digital assistant. So my first encounter with something like that was the IBM Simon in 94, I think it was, 93, 94. My brother worked for Bell South Mobility in Kentucky, which was a cell phone provider. And this was, it was before we were all talking about cell phones. So these are people like when you see the car phone, you see someone with a giant, Zach Morris cell phone that's this big plus the antenna. That's the era of cell he was into before. Okay, we're also going to talk about it by the end of the 90s. So he came into my place of work. I worked for a small computer company in Versailles, Kentucky. It's Versailles, but everyone calls it Versailles, Kentucky. And he had this little black box, and it was the IBM Simon. It had a black on green like touch screen, and it had a pin. So I don't know if you could touch it. Maybe you could tap it, but for sure it had a pin. And it had everything that the basics of like an iPhone or a Palm Trio have, but it was 1994. And I recall he received a document, he signed it, and then sent it back to someone. And this was all on a, I mean, relatively small device. The device would be massive now, but at the time it was a relatively small device. And I just, wow, holy crap, he's doing this in this little tiny device. He doesn't have to have a desktop, like laptop computers really still weren't much of a thing at the time. Or they were just beginning. So I gravitated in the 90s when I eventually worked for Abbott Laboratories. And I remember seeing one of the executives had a Palm Pilot. And I was like, hey, can I show this to the team? Oh, yeah, sure. So I took that downstairs to our little, hole in the wall where IT always sits. And we were all like, what is this? Like it was amazing. And I remember hearing Steve Jobs talk about the Apple Newton and how the reason he was canceling it was because it wasn't yet ready. And the Palm Pilot was the same. It wasn't yet ready. He said the one thing it needed was a cellular or a way, mobile communication, a way to talk with others through the internet and through the web or whatever. And as soon as we got that, because the Palm Pilot was just like you synced it with your computer. But as soon as we all had cellular and mobile capabilities with all of those same tools in hand, it all blew up. I mean, he was right about it. So like my Apple Watch, I was all about the Apple Watch. I could because again, the mobile tech, I couldn't wait to use it. Not, I don't even need to show it to anyone else. Like I'm just like, wow, do you see what this thing? It's a computer on my wrist. And now it's like whatever. I got 8 of them in a drawer, But but yeah, mobile tech. I just and the thing is that everything eventually becomes mobile tech. Like the mainframe in the high school gymnasium in 1940 whatever, like Univac, ENIAC, whatever. Uh, that thing is so overpowered now by this watch. But at one point, if you had told someone you'll wear that on your wrist one day, no, you're smoking something. There's no way that's possible. So I just in this conversation realized that everything that we look at, whether it's in front of us now, like everything's getting smaller. Everything will eventually be mobile tech.
I remember two thoughts come to mind. So Greg had mentioned this a minute ago, but say my dad owns a finance, and it's been around for 15 years this year. And I remember when he started the company, I would have been a middle school kid at the time, which is just bananas. But I remember coming to at that time the finance was I think at that time, Fidance was disconnecting from Ray and Barney Group, the consulting firm we came from. And I remember going to their office, which was in Mason, and I remember sitting upstairs and Trip Bodley, who some of the folks that are watching this might know who Trip is. Trip used to work with us, and I remember Trip had this like it was the first iPhone, and I remember him showing it to me, and I had been around a lot of video games growing up. I grew up with the GameCube, the Xbox 360. I mean, the N64 and the PS1, and like I was relatively familiar with tech. Like I grew up with cell phones. I do remember quite a quite a bit about older technologies, but I was very comfortable around that technology. But I just could not get over the fact that you could send text, make phone calls, and get on the internet from this phone. And I remember him showing that to me, and I would have been literally a 13-year-old kid at the time. And I thought it was just the coolest thing in the world. So fast forward, that's the first thing. Fast forward 13 years later, it's my first year working at a Fidance. And my first year at a Fidance, ChatGPT went to market, and it was a huge deal in the technology world. Still is a big deal. And I remember a few months after that, we were together at a company event, and you were showing me your Meta glasses, and we were sitting together, and you're and I couldn't put them on, of course, because they're yours, but you're telling me about what you're seeing, and it's like, yeah, there it is, right there, man.
Right.
Yeah, and it's crazy because that is literally like the tech of the future. And it's like stuff like being able to have glasses and watches, and that's like the direction that we're heading with technology. And eventually, it will be augmented reality, like where every
you're right. Eventually, it will be, and like I'm at the. I love VR. I love AR. So I invest a lot in those things, and so like I have the Apple Vision Pro. Apple Vision Pro is the first one to confidently, like, I can move things around in my space, Minority Report style or whatever the heck you want to call it. And if it were in a pair of glasses, that I have here, then it's going to be perfect. So it's great because we already have the interface. Everyone's already working on it. Apple, from my point of view, Apple has nearly perfected it. All they need to do now is get it into a device that is small enough and cheap enough and light enough.
I have a theory, and this is all great content that we're talking about, just because I think people talk about these things in silos. But
Sure. Yeah.
so Apple AI has been, I would describe it as less than impressive. I'd say it's certainly behind compared to what the other big tech companies are with OpenAI, Meta, Grok. I mean, um, it's certainly behind, but I have a theory that it's behind because I think Apple's playing the long game and they're investing more in augmented reality, and I think they're going to be far and away ahead of where some of the other tech companies are in terms of augmented reality. I've never used the Vision Pro. It's so expensive. I wouldn't even consider buying it with our
Sure.
two young children.
Sure.
But it's certainly fun to talk about new technology, what's out there. It's funny when I go to family events, especially with my in-laws. They're all medical professionals. They kind of look at me like the tinfoil hat guy, and they think that like I know a lot about tech, even though I'm in tech sales. So I know like a mile wide and deep. And they always are bringing things to me that are like a couple of years old. Like, hey, have you seen this before? Like I remember my mother and father-in-law started using ChatGPT like I think maybe a month ago, and I think Steve had mentioned to me, "Hey, have you heard of this tool before? Have you ever used this? Do you ever use ChatGPT?" And I laughed because I'm like, dude, I use ChatGPT all the time. Like it is in every sense of the word my co-pilot with me while I'm working now. And I can't even fathom working without it, man. So, what are some of your favorite AI technologies?
So
Great use cases. The and use cases.
I use AI every single day, and AIs use about me, I imagine, unbeknownst to me, like who I am on the back end every single day and the things I interact with, like websites and such. So I'm sure it's being used for me or for someone else at me. But I probably see it as beneficial. I use ChatGPT every single day. I use ChatGPT. I probably interact with ChatGPT, like start a brand new chat, probably 5 to 10 times a day. It's basically become my new Google search. I still use Google search for some things. There's a level of precision that I can get from a Google search that it's not that I couldn't get it out of ChatGPT, but it becomes a conversation with ChatGPT. I'd rather just say this word as opposed to, "Hey, how you doing?" Well, great. Okay, I need this today. Like which it's because you see it as a person. I use like these Ray-Ban glasses. I've felt they've been a little bit hit or miss for me, at least at first. And then because they were glasses first, and then they were a novelty second. And eventually the AI was so good that they became AI first that just happened to be on a pair of glasses that I was wearing. If I see a sign that's in a language I don't know, I just say, "Hey, Meta, look and tell me what this sign says." I was just walking with some people the other day, and they were talking. I could hear them talking about it behind me, and so I just kind of quietly said, "Hey, Meta, what's this?" And it gave me the answer, and then I turned around and told them. And they don't necessarily know that I was interacting with AI. I use Midjourney a lot. I make thumbnails for videos that I make, and then those thumbnails, at first I was making 100% of the thumbnail, whether it's a photo of me and then a graphic and then a font of some sort and all that. But my imagination was always bigger than my capability. So now I can go to whether it's ChatGPT or Midjourney or any other AI platform that does this, and I can say I want a 16:9 landscape image. It's going to be a thumbnail for YouTube that looks like this and has these characteristics. And the thing that bothers me is that there's this concept of AI slop. And I got that hurled at me once where I had made something with AI that was 100% on point of the subject matter. It was not like, here's just some stupid picture that's kind of related to this topic. I actually like the image wasn't important. It was the thing, the idea I had and the wording I had that I put at the top of the image. But someone was just like, gets a slop out of here. And I'm like, but you're not even looking at it. Like the thing is a unique idea that plugs in with the topic. And I just happen to use AI to help me express that. And I could have made it in a traditional form. And would you have thought it was AI and said the same thing, you know? So AI is the thing that I use every day right now that I feel like is the game changer. And AI built into things like my Ray-Bans are a place where I use it. And the closer we get to marrying AI with things like that, the more we're going to see it every day. And there's definitely kids born now that were born after the release of ChatGPT to the general public who will have so much comfort in it that will think everyone's crazy for not interacting with it every day, for thinking that it's going to kill us all, which it may. I don't know yet. But yeah, I mean, AI for me right now, AI is where it's at. In the business world, I use Copilot mixed with ChatGPT. Copilot seems it handles all of the content I have in my Microsoft 365 tenant, so I can access it. Where ChatGPT is starting to have that access, but traditionally didn't. But it had much more thorough answers to the questions I had. So yeah, man, AI. I feel like for a long time I was the OS2 guy because my dad made OS2 and I was really into OS2, which doesn't get chicks by the way. And then I became like the Apple guy. In 2007, I switched to Apple, and all my friends were like, "Whoa, what are you doing? You're a traitor. You know, you're going backwards." Now they all have Macs. I then became the iPhone guy. Like all I could think about was the iPhone because it was a mini computer. It could have been Android, didn't matter. It was just a mini computer that I could take everywhere with me. And then I became like the virtual reality, augmented reality guy, and I still am that. But most recently, I am now just the cheerleader for AI. I see its problems. I understand why people are afraid of it, but I think they want to throw the artificial baby out with the bathwater by just getting rid of it altogether, and they're not looking at it in a practical way.
Yeah, I think the right way to view it from a risk standpoint is how you should view anything else. Everything has inherent risk to it. There's nothing that you can
Sure.
buy or purchase or consume that doesn't come without some kind of risk with it. And
Yep.
I just think that the reality of AI is that you're going to have to learn how to use it because it's what it can do to your productivity and how it can support you. And there are some
Yep.
fields where it's more intuitive than others. Like in IT, it's very intuitive. I think how you can leverage AI in a very practical sense. I think there's other fields like my family that is in the medical field where um, the learning curve, I think, for using an AI-based scribing system for a doctor is much. So there's a higher learning curve there, but also too, there's fields that haven't caught up to the level of trust that
Yeah.
there's a better way to put this, but like you have to have a lot of trust in your technology, right, to use it. And if you're in IT, I think you've been trusting the tech for years. And there's other fields that just aren't that level of trust doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm getting us off track here. I will share this of the coolest AI technology that I know of is so I'm very much into health and fitness, and there's a technology called Sleep, and it's like a mattress that you lay over top of or more think of it not as a mattress, but it's like a cover you put on top of your mattress, and it essentially um, it's AI empowered in it. It essentially monitors your body temperature while you're sleeping and adjusts the mattress um,
Very nice.
to optimize your sleep. And it's a very expensive piece of technology, but there's a ton of data around it of what it can do to add value to your sleep. Yeah, I've never used it before. but I am obsessed with it. And one day I'll get to purchase it and put it on our bed at home. But
Yeah, yeah.
anywho, let's move into our last question here. But so you shared a lot of good stuff about kind of how you grew up in IT, your values, what interests you, your use cases for AI tech that you like. What would you say it takes to be? What does it take to be successful? I'm sorry, I'll reverse the question. What does it take to be a successful technology leader in today's market?
I think to be a successful technology leader today is versatility. I think the expectation that everything's going to take a left when you expect it to go straight, or take a right, or take a right when you expect it to go up. Everything is moving faster, in part because everything's moving to a back end that we have no control over. So let's say with Microsoft, they can create an entire brand new platform on the back end and then just turn it on, and we had no idea it was there. And like Microsoft 365 was an annoyance to me at first. And then it started to become a thing that we had to manage and care about, whether it annoyed me or not. And then as they built it out, it became more and more capable. And now I see its value. The point of that is I had a lot of resistance to it at first because I was a network engineer. I cared about infrastructure and servers and how those things work. And there was a little bit of like, hoity-toity, like I'm special because I'm working on that. Everybody can work in an interface and tell it to do something. But this stuff over here that I was working on, I felt was hard. And I started having all the things that I thought were hard and made me special were now just being handed off to Microsoft to such a degree that I no longer almost had a job because you can, if you have a problem with your device, you can replace it instantly because everything gets restored from OneDrive. And you have DHCP on your network, and so now you got an IP address. So no one had to hand you an IP address, and you've got a Windows laptop, and you logged in with your Office 365 or Microsoft 365 account, and it sets your desktop backups just the way you had it, including giving you back all your wireless networks. So when you go home, you don't have to rejoin the wireless network. These are all places that I would have gotten a phone call at some point asking for help or ask me to create something so that when someone gets the new laptop, it joins the network. And I think I had to. I didn't have any problem turning on a dime. I think anyone can do that. It's harder to accept that you have to, because it always doesn't turn towards the thing that you have an interest in. So I think anyone that's in IT these days, I think it's moving. Maybe people of a certain age, they're so used to moving at the speed it's moving that it's no big deal. But it seemed like things were awfully the same for the first 20 of the 30 years of my career. And then all of a sudden change. And it all started with the internet. And then with the internet, now people that are across the internet on the other side of the world, I am their customer and they have products to offer me. And it's going to cost them too much money to come to me to do the things that I maybe need to do. So they invented things that I would want that's where they are. So now I'm dropping all these things and doing, working with them or working with Microsoft or whatever. And I think we all just have to be okay with accepting the changes and then just moving with them, because otherwise, especially as an IT manager, you're just going to get lost.
It's really good, man. And yes, cloud and software, man. I think that was what AI was maybe a decade ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I remember the first time I heard the term AI being used in something I interacted with, and it was Doom, the game Doom, back in like '93. And Doom had come out, and they had their own little, I guess, AI that I didn't consider at the time as AI. So like basically you're at a point and all the monsters are coming just towards you, and there's a wall in the way, then they're going to hit the wall and you don't see them. But those that you can see are coming at you. So that would suffice to make it feel like you were being attacked. But there was this guy, maybe he's some programming legend at this point. I don't remember who it was. He was the first person to introduce true AI that was smart and thought and went around things to come and get you. And I remember thinking like, wow, like it's starting to happen. And, you know, it took 30 years, 30 plus years for AI to actually be something that I could use, you know, in a day-to-day basis. So it's funny because I was talking about how fast everything's going, but at the same time, you know, AI's been there. The concept of AI has been there since I was born, or before I was born, and it's taken 50 some years for it to finally get here and usable. So sure, everything moves quickly, but there's a bigger game being played in the background that's taken, you know, decades that will eventually get to see, you know, the results of those efforts as well. Maybe not now, maybe not 5 years, maybe 10 years from now. But AI is a great example of a technology that it just seems like it was always there, and now it's really here, you know, and we all just have to grow accustomed to it.
The next thing will be quantum computing. That's gonna break the world, man. When people can
But
start purchasing quantum computers.
yeah. Quantum computing is it's going to enable a lot of things that we don't currently have because it's so fast. And then all of a sudden, encryption and password protection and all of those things aren't going to mean anything. Yeah, I can't wait to see first the trouble that it creates, because that's what always comes first, and then, you know, the advancements in our lives.
Absolutely. Any parting thoughts you might share with the audience?
Um, so I got something to say about avoidance. Uh, this is a weird thing to say to you, but I love your dad, man. I think I've told him for years he's the Mickey Mouse of this Disney. And you know, maybe the better thing would be, you know, he's the Walt Disney, because Brian Hogan is one of the most caring people I've ever met, the most accepting. Um, he cares not about just the customer, he cares about his employees. Um, I I would not be saying this. I'm very generally just I wouldn't say I'm a negative guy. I but I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I won't say something about someone unless I truly believe it. And I feel like I am multiple times a year telling everyone how great Brian Hogan is. And he has in turn turned that into a fidance. And so I have this opportunity that I have now because of Brian and because of a fidance. And I can't think of a better place to work or better company to do work with.
That's awesome, Greg. I'll share this with them, but I'll also watch it and see it. So thank you so much for your time, and
Yeah.
I'll talk to you more real soon.
All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you, Spencer. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.